My friends, tonight is not about a date on a calendar. It is not about fear, speculation, or predictions. Tonight is about awakening. Tonight is about recognizing that every day we are given is a gift from God and an opportunity to live with purpose. There are moments in history when people sense that something is changing. The world seems unsettled. Nations are searching for answers. Families are facing challenges. Many hearts are burdened with uncertainty about the future, yet in the middle of all these things, God remains on his throne. June 11th, 2026 may look like any other night to some people. They will go through their routines. They will scroll through their phones. They will make plans for tomorrow as if tomorrow is guaranteed. But for those who are paying attention, tonight can become a turning point. What if tonight is the night you decide to stop living distracted? What if tonight is the night you choose faith over fear? What if tonight is the night you stop waiting for the perfect moment and begin walking in the purpose God has placed before you? Throughout Scripture, we see that God often worked through ordinary moments. A shepherd watched his flock, and God called him to lead a nation. A fisherman cast his nets, and God called him to change the world. A young woman lived an ordinary life, and God chose her for an extraordinary purpose. The lesson is clear. God specializes in transforming ordinary moments into extraordinary opportunities. Tonight, many people are waiting for a sign. They are waiting for circumstances to improve. They are waiting for someone else to solve their problems. But the truth is that God has already given us His Word, His promises, and His guidance. The greatest obstacle standing between many people and their future is not the world around them. It is the doubt within them. Fear whispers, "You cannot do it." Faith declares, "With God, all things are possible." Fear focuses on obstacles. Faith focuses on God's power. Fear looks at the storm. Faith looks at the one who commands the storm. Tonight, you have a choice. You can allow anxiety to dictate your future, or you can allow faith to guide your steps. Look around at the world. The headlines change every day. Economies rise and fall. Leaders come and go. Trends appear and disappear. But one thing remains constant: God's faithfulness. When everything else seems unstable, His promises remain secure. That means your hope should not be built upon circumstances. Your hope should not be built upon governments, institutions, or temporary successes. Your hope should be built upon the eternal foundation that never changes. Perhaps you entered this night carrying disappointment. Perhaps prayers have gone unanswered. Perhaps you feel exhausted from fighting battles nobody else can see. Do not give up. Give up. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history came after seasons of waiting. Some of the strongest people were forged in the fires of adversity. Some of the brightest testimonies emerged from the darkest nights. The fact that you are still standing means your story is not over. The fact that you are still breathing means God still has a purpose for your life. The fact that you are here tonight means there is still work for you to do. Do not underestimate what God can accomplish through one surrendered heart. One decision can change a future. One act of courage can inspire countless others. One moment of obedience can open doors you never imagined possible. Tonight, instead of focusing on what you cannot control, focus on what you can do. Choose gratitude. Choose faith. choose integrity, choose perseverance, choose hope. The future belongs to those who refuse to surrender to fear and who continue moving forward with confidence in God's promises. As this night unfolds, remember that extraordinary things often begin quietly. A seed grows beneath the soil before anyone sees the harvest. A sunrise begins before the world notices the first light. Your breakthrough may be closer than you think. Your purpose may be clearer than you realize. Your next chapter may already be unfolding. So stand firm, lift your eyes higher, strengthen your faith, refuse to be discouraged by temporary challenges. And remember this, tonight is no ordinary night if you choose to make it a moment of transformation. Let this be the night you renew your commitment. Let this be the night you embrace God's calling. Let this be the night you step forward with courage, confidence, and unwavering faith, because the greatest days of your journey may still be ahead. And when you look back on this moment, you may discover that June 11th, 2026 was not ordinary at all. It was the night everything began to change. Tonight may seem like any other night on the calendar, but the truth is that some of the most significant moments in life arrive disguised as ordinary days. Most people spend their lives waiting for a dramatic sign, a major event, or a perfect set of circumstances before they decide to make a change. Yet, history repeatedly shows us that transformation often begins in quiet moments when a person chooses to respond to what God is placing before them. This night is not important because of a date. It is important because of the opportunity it presents. Every new day is a gift from God, but not everyone recognizes the value of that gift. Many people rush through life distracted, overwhelmed, and focused on temporary concerns, never realizing that God may be calling them to something greater. There comes a time when every person must ask difficult questions. Am I living with purpose? Am I growing in faith? Am I becoming the person God created me to be? These questions cannot be ignored forever. They demand honest reflection. The world encourages constant movement and endless distraction, but God often speaks when we are willing to pause and examine our hearts. Tonight presents such an opportunity. It is a chance to look beyond daily routines and consider the deeper direction of our lives. Many people feel trapped by past failures. They believe that because they made mistakes yesterday, they cannot experience victory tomorrow. But God's mercy is greater than human failure. Throughout Scripture, we see individuals who made serious mistakes and yet were used powerfully because they were willing to return to God and trust Him again. The past does not have to define the future. A person who turns toward God in faith can discover a completely new beginning. That is why no one should view tonight as ordinary. It may become the moment when old burdens are released and new hope is embraced. Others are carrying fear about the future. They look at world events, economic uncertainty, personal challenges, and unanswered questions, and they wonder what lies ahead. Fear has a way of magnifying problems until they seem impossible to overcome. Yet faith reminds us that God is never surprised by the events that surprise us. He sees the beginning and the end. He knows every challenge before it arrives. While we may not understand every detail of the future, we can trust the one who holds the future in His hands. That confidence changes everything. Instead of being controlled by anxiety, we can move forward with courage. Tonight is also an opportunity to renew commitment. Many people begin their spiritual journey with passion, but gradually become distracted. The pressures of life slowly pull their attention away from what matters most, yet God continually invites His people back to a place of devotion, trust, and obedience. His invitation is not based on condemnation, but on love. He desires a relationship that grows stronger over time. Every day offers an opportunity to draw closer to Him, but there are moments when that invitation feels especially urgent. This can be one of those moments. The remarkable thing about divine opportunities is that they often appear small at first. A single decision can alter the course of an entire life. Choosing to trust God, choosing to forgive, choosing to obey, choosing to pray, choosing to step forward. In faith, these decisions may seem insignificant in the moment, yet they can produce results far beyond what anyone expects. Great changes rarely happen all at once. They begin with one step in the right direction. As this night unfolds, remember that God is still at work. He is still calling people to purpose. He is still opening doors. He is still restoring hope. He is still transforming lives. The question is not whether God is moving. The question is whether we are willing to respond. Tonight can be more than another evening that comes and goes. It can become a turning point, a moment of renewed faith, renewed purpose, and renewed determination to walk in the path God has prepared. That is what makes this night an extraordinary opportunity. The choice to embrace it is yours. Every person faces a choice between faith and fear. This choice is not made once. In a lifetime, it is made repeatedly, often every day. Fear and faith both ask us to believe something about the future. Fear tells us that the worst outcome is inevitable. Faith tells us that God remains in control, no matter what circumstances may look like. The direction of our lives is often determined by which voice we choose to follow. Tonight, more than ever, we must understand the difference between these two powerful forces, because one will lead us into confidence and purpose, while the other will keep us trapped in uncertainty and doubt. Fear is one of the enemy's most effective tools. It convinces people that they are too weak, too late, too damaged, or too unqualified to accomplish what God has placed before them. Fear whispers that obstacles are bigger than opportunities. It magnifies problems until they seem impossible to overcome. It causes people to focus on everything that could go wrong, instead of remembering everything God has already done. Fear keeps people standing still when they should be moving forward. It prevents them from taking steps of obedience because they become consumed by what might happen rather than trusting God with what will happen. The world today provides countless reasons for people to be afraid. News headlines often emphasize conflict, uncertainty, economic instability, and global challenges. Social media floods people with information, opinions, and predictions that can easily create anxiety. Personal struggles add even more pressure. Many people worry about their families, finances, health, careers, and future. The result is a generation carrying burdens that seem heavier than ever before. Yet despite all these realities, God's message remains unchanged. He repeatedly tells his people not to fear because his presence is greater than any challenge they may face. Faith does not mean pretending problems do not exist. Faith is not denial. Faith acknowledges difficulties, but refuses to give them the final word. Faith understands that challenges are real, but it also understands that God's power is greater. When David stood before Goliath, he saw the same giant everyone else saw. The difference was not in what he observed, but in what he believed. Others focused on the size of the giant. David focused on the greatness of God. That perspective changed everything. The battle was won before the first stone was ever thrown because faith had already conquered fear in David's heart. The same principle applies today. Many of the battles people face are first fought in the mind. Fear says, you cannot do this. Faith says, with God's help, all things are possible. Fear says, you will never recover. Faith says, God is able to restore. Fear says, the future is hopeless. Faith says, God is already preparing the way. These competing voices constantly seek our attention. The one we choose to believe will influence our decisions, attitudes, and actions. Faith grows when we remember God's faithfulness. Every answered prayer, every past victory, every moment of protection, and every blessing serves as evidence that God has not abandoned his people. When we look back at how God has guided us through previous challenges, we gain confidence for whatever lies ahead. The same God who carried us yesterday is fully capable of carrying us tomorrow. His character does not change. His promises remain trustworthy. His power remains unlimited. Choosing faith does not mean life suddenly becomes easy. Difficulties will still come. Storms will still arise. Questions may remain unanswered for a season. But faith provides something fear never can: peace in the middle of uncertainty. Faith allows us to move forward even when we cannot see every step. It gives us courage to obey God when the outcome is not yet visible. It enables us to stand firm when circumstances tempt us to give up. Tonight, the choice remains before us. We can allow fear to dominate our thoughts and control our actions, or we can place our trust in the God who holds all things together. Fear focuses on limitations. Faith focuses on possibilities. Fear looks at the darkness. Faith looks at the light. Fear measures human strength. Faith depends on divine strength. The future belongs to those who refuse to surrender to fear and who choose, day after day, to walk forward believing that God is faithful, God is present. And God is working even when they cannot yet see the results. That choice has the power to transform not only a single night, but an entire life. One of the greatest truths found throughout Scripture is that God delights in working through ordinary people. Human beings often look for extraordinary qualifications, impressive backgrounds, and remarkable abilities before they believe someone can be used for a great purpose. God, however, sees things differently. He is not limited by human weaknesses, past failures, lack of experience, or difficult circumstances. Again and again, He chooses ordinary men and women and accomplishes extraordinary things through them. This truth should encourage every person who has ever doubted their value, questioned their potential, or wondered whether God could use them. Many people spend their lives comparing themselves to others. They see someone with greater influence, greater resources, or greater opportunities and assume they have little to offer. Comparison creates discouragement because it shifts focus away from God's plan and places attention on human limitations. Yet God never asks people to become someone else. He calls them to faithfully use what He has already placed in their hands. The individuals God used throughout biblical history were not chosen because they were perfect. They were chosen because they were willing to trust Him. Consider how often God selected unlikely people to fulfill significant assignments. Some were shepherds, fishermen, farmers, or individuals with no obvious qualifications for greatness. They lived ordinary lives until God called them to something beyond what they imagined possible. What made the difference was not their talent, but their willingness to respond. They did not have every answer. They did not possess unlimited confidence. Many struggled with doubts and fears, just like people do today. Yet, God worked through them because they surrendered their lives to His purpose. This principle remains true today. God is still looking for hearts that are willing, faithful, and available. The world often celebrates popularity, status, and achievement, but God looks deeper. He examines character. He values humility. He honors obedience. A person may feel unnoticed by the world and yet be deeply significant in God's plan. Great impact often begins with simple acts of faithfulness that no one else sees. Many individuals believe their mistakes have permanently disqualified them. They carry regret over past decisions and assume that their opportunities are gone forever. But God's grace tells a different story. Throughout history, He has demonstrated His ability to redeem broken situations and restore those who return to Him. Failure does not have to be the final chapter. God specializes in taking what appears damaged and transforming it into something meaningful. The past may explain where someone has been, but it does not have to determine where they are going. Another common obstacle is the belief that circumstances must be perfect before action can be taken. People often tell themselves they will serve, lead, or pursue their calling once conditions improve. They wait for confidence, resources, or certainty. Yet, many of God's greatest works began in difficult circumstances. Waiting for perfection often becomes an excuse that prevents progress. Faith moves forward even when every detail is not yet clear. It trusts that God will provide guidance one step at a time. God also uses ordinary people because His power becomes more visible through human weakness. When success can only be explained by talent or personal ability, attention often goes to the individual. But when someone accomplishes something beyond their own strength, the glory belongs to God. This is why weakness does not have to be feared. In many cases, it becomes the very place where God's strength is revealed most clearly. The limitations people worry about may actually become opportunities for God to demonstrate His faithfulness. Every person has been given unique gifts, opportunities, and responsibilities. No two journeys are exactly alike. Some are called to influence large audiences, while others are called to impact a family, a workplace, a community, or a single life. Significance is not measured by size but by faithfulness. A small act of obedience can produce results far greater than anyone realizes. Encouraging someone, helping someone in need, sharing hope, or standing firm in faith may affect lives for years to come. Tonight, it is important to remember that God is not searching for perfect people. He is searching for willing people. He is not asking for extraordinary qualifications before He can begin working. He asks for trust, obedience, and a heart that is open to His direction. The same God who used ordinary people throughout history continues to work through ordinary people today. Your current circumstances do not limit His ability. Your weaknesses do not cancel His purpose. Your past does not prevent His future. What matters most is your willingness to say yes when He calls. When an ordinary person places their life in God's hands, extraordinary things can happen, and what seems impossible through human effort becomes possible through His power. One of the most powerful truths a person can hold on to during difficult seasons is the belief that their best days may still be ahead. Many people lose hope because they become convinced that the greatest moments of their lives are behind them. They look back at missed opportunities, broken dreams, disappointments, and setbacks, and they assume the future can offer nothing better. Yet God's way of working often defies human expectations. Just when people believe their story is nearing its end, God begins writing a new chapter. What appears to be a conclusion may actually be the beginning of something greater than they ever imagined. Life has a way of testing our endurance. There are seasons when prayers seem unanswered, progress feels slow, and challenges appear endless. During those moments, it becomes easy to focus on what is not happening rather than what God may be preparing behind the scenes. We naturally want immediate results. We want instant answers and visible breakthroughs. But God often works through processes rather than sudden events. Just as a seed grows beneath the soil long before anyone sees the harvest, God may be accomplishing important work in our lives long before we recognize the results. Many of the people who achieved great things in life first walked through seasons of waiting. Their journeys were not marked by constant success. They faced obstacles, setbacks, and moments of uncertainty. Yet those difficult periods were not wasted. They were preparing them for what lay ahead. Character was being developed, faith was being strengthened, wisdom was being gained. The struggles they experienced became part of the preparation for the blessings they would later receive. What felt like delay was actually preparation. This is why perseverance is so important. Too many people give up just before a breakthrough arrives. They become discouraged because they cannot see immediate progress. They assume that because circumstances have not changed, nothing is happening. Yet, some of the greatest victories occur after long periods of persistence. The person who continues believing when others quit often discovers opportunities that would never have been found otherwise. Endurance is not simply about surviving hardship. It is about maintaining faith while moving forward. Despite hardship, hope plays a critical role in this process. Hope is not wishful thinking. It is a confident expectation that God remains faithful and that He is still working even when circumstances seem unclear. Hope enables people to look beyond present difficulties and focus on future possibilities. It provides strength during difficult moments and motivation to continue when the journey becomes challenging. Without hope, obstacles appear larger than they really are. With hope, obstacles become temporary challenges rather than permanent barriers. There are people listening today who may feel exhausted from carrying burdens for a long time. They have faced disappointment after disappointment. They have experienced loss, rejection, or failure. They wonder whether things will ever improve. Yet history is filled with examples of individuals who experienced remarkable turnarounds after periods of struggle. Their greatest accomplishments came after their hardest battles. The brightest moments followed their darkest nights. The same possibility exists today. God's plans are often far greater than our own understanding. What we view as setbacks may actually be redirections. Closed doors may be protecting us from paths that were never meant for us. Delays may be positioning us for opportunities that are not yet ready. While we may not always understand His timing, we can trust His wisdom. He sees the complete picture while we only see a small portion of it. Because of this, we can move forward with confidence even when every answer is not available. The future should not be approached with fear, but with expectation. Every new day brings new opportunities, new lessons, and new possibilities. The fact that you are still here means your purpose is not finished. There is still work to do, still growth to experience, still lives to influence, and still blessings to receive. Your current season does not define your final destination. Temporary struggles do not determine your ultimate outcome. As you move forward, refuse to allow discouragement to have the final word. Refuse to let past disappointments steal future hope. Continue trusting, continue believing, and continue taking steps of faith. Remember that some of God's greatest blessings arrive after long seasons of preparation. What seems impossible today may become reality tomorrow. What appears distant now may be closer than you realize. Your story is still being written. The challenges you face today are only one chapter, not the entire book. Keep your eyes on God's promises. Keep your heart filled with hope. Keep moving forward with faith. The road may not always be easy, but the future remains full of possibilities. And if God is guiding your steps, then there is every reason to believe that your best days may still be ahead.